Hey all, welcome back to my channel. Hi, ready? I believe that you watched the part 1 of Day-5's video. If you haven't watched yet, make sure you watch the part 1 and you come back to this part 2 so that it could be easier for you to understand how this module works. So yeah, we are going to get into the technical part. So I'm minimizing my video part so it would be easy for you to look into the screen without any disruptions. Yes. So as I mentioned on the first video, we are going to use a platform called Google Colab. So for using that platform, you can use this platform in mobile phone and also in laptop. For using that platform, you just go to Google, search for Google Colab. You'll be seeing something like this. You might have so many options and use this option, Google Colab itself. If you already signed in into this Google Colab, you might see something that is appearing on the top of Google Colab new notebook. After opening this website, just click on new notebook. And if you have already signed into this website, you might see your mail ID's logo on the top right corner like this. And if you haven't logged in, make sure that you logged in with your Google account to Google Colab. And this is how your user interface is going to look like in Google Colab. In this, if you move your cursor like this, you'll see options like text and code. Text is generally used for adding a title to my coding concepts. So for using that text, what you have to do is the text cell will be created and you have to double click on it. And after double click, your page will look like this. My day 1 session. And if you want to open any coding cells, you can use this coding option, code cell, and the code cell will be created like this. In the first video, we have seen how a normal printing statement in Python would look like. So you'll use a keyword called print and then you'll open a bracket and you'll close a bracket and open double quotes, close the double quotes. And in this particular collab, if you just open a bracket, it will automatically close it. And if you just give double quotes, it automatically closes it. That's how the user interface was built. So inside which you can give the printing statement. Hi all. I believe you got clear with how this particular tool is going to work and you got clarity on how to create text cells and how to create coding cells. Once again, I'm repeating it. You just, if you move the cursor like this and if you're using mobile phone and you're using Colab from mobile phone, if you move your hands like this, you will see two options. One is text option and another option is code. If you click on text, the text box will be opened like this. And if you want to enter something, you should double click on it. And it is opened already. So if you want to type something, I can type any title. It is used for generally typing the title. And if I want to add a code, then I'll use this code option. Inside which I can write my coding files like printing statement or anything else. Like this. I hope you got clarity on how to use this Google Colab. Now let's get into the technical part of day 5. In the previous file, we have seen how the printing statement would look like. So I don't think so you need class on that, but I clearly explain once again. So you need not get confusions. First, you start with a keyword called print, then open bracket, close bracket, open double quotes, closing double quotes, inside which you will be giving printing statement. Or if you want to print output of something, like if I'm going to print the variable's value, instead of giving this double quote, I can just call the variable's name. We'll be seeing about the variable in this video itself. You need not worry about if you are new to this. So, generally, if I'm trying to print a statement, which is a string, which is not an integer, if I give that without double quotes, then Python will throw an error. Let me run and show this. Yeah, this is how the Python will throw an error. I'll give you another example. I print hi with double quotes, it will be printed. But if I print the same hi without double quotes, it will throw an error. It says that if you are trying to print any alphabetical characters, I mean string, then in that scenario, you should definitely give double quotes so that Python can understand that you are giving a string. If it is not a string, then absolutely you need not give double quotes. That's why I haven't give double quotes to this 987654321. I just printed a random number. Here, I haven't give double quotes. I haven't given any double quotes because of a reason. It is not a string, so I need not enclose this with any double quotes. It can print like this. Generally, in mathematics, if I want to add numbers, you will use plus operator, right? But in Python, you'll use that plus operator for addition too. But the major reason why we need to use plus operator is for concatenation. If I want to combine both the strings, if I want to merge two strings like hi, I and am Benisha, these are two strings that I have like this. Hi, I, this is one of the string and I'm just giving this plus operator. Here we call that as concatenation operator because if I am combining two strings in Python, we call that operation a concatenation. I am Benisha. So the output would look like this. If I want to add any spaces, what I could do is I could just add space here. So it will be printed with space. That simple it is. So if I want to print a string and an integer together, I want to concatenate an integer and a string. It is impossible. If that integer is kept as integer itself, we can't combine an integer and a string. If I want to combine them, what I have to do is I just need to enclose that integer with double quotes. So it will be converted as string. So after converting that integer to a string, then I can concatenate both by just adding a plus operator to this. If I run this cell, my name is Banisha, I love teaching, and if I am concatenating another string which I converted integer as a string. If I am concatenating both, it will be printed like this. If I want to add space or something, I can add here. So this is how concatenation in Python works. You can take notes. Concatenation is the process of combining strings using plus operator. These are something that we could do with print statement. If I'm storing some string inside a variable called college. In the previous video, I taught you what is variable and what is values. So here, college is a variable inside which I'm storing a string called ABC. Tech is a variable inside which I'm storing a value called AI. Both are strings. And using these two strings, I'm going to print another statement where I already have some statements. Print, hi, I love studying, something that I am giving based on my customization. Next to which I'm trying to print the variable's value. So, what is the value of the variable text here? It is AI, right? So, for that, after adding your printing statement, hi, I love studying, you should add a comma, give a space, then call that variable. Here, instead of tech, the value of tech will be replacing it. So, here, hi, I love studying AI. That will be here. Next to which, I have added a printing statement from. Then, I'm adding that variable college. Inside college, what I have stored? I have stored ABC. So, what will be printed at the output? As an output, hi, I love studying AI from College name is ABC from ABC College. Likewise, it will be printed. Similar to which I have given another example. I have stored my name and my year of birth, and I am using a printing statement to call those variables value and printing along with that printing statements. If you have any doubts as a beginner or something, without any hesitation, you can ask in comments. And I swear that every comment will get proper answers. So here I have stored year of birth as a string, right? Because I have enclosed that within a double quotes. In this scenario, after running this file, if I see in the first video, we have seen there are four basic data types in Python. One is integer, the second one is string. Then we have seen complex values and whatever we have seen float values. Integer is a number, whole number, and float values where we have decimal values, and complex values is something where we have imaginary values. In addition to that, we have string, which would be enclosed within double quotes. These are the four basic data types we have in Python. So, to see which value is stored inside my variable, to specifically understand which type of data is stored inside my variable, what I can do is I can just use a syntax print of type of my variable name. So here I am storing year of birth as string, right? So if I want to see my data type, what I have to do is print of type of year of birth. It is a string, so the output would be string. If I'm storing the same year of birth as 2002, and I want to tell you one important thing. If I'm storing any value to a variable, and at the second time I'm storing another value to the same variable, and Python will consider the second value that I'm storing to my variable. At first, I stored the value of 2002 as string to my variable called year of birth, YOB. And for the second time, I'm storing 2002, which is an integer, to my variable year of birth. If I see what is the value that got stored into my variable year of birth, now the value 2002 as an integer will get stored. To confirm that, what you could do is, now if I specifically see which data type got stored inside my year of birth, now after replacing that integer to my year of birth, now the variable's value also got replaced. So at the last time, what value that you're going to store inside your variable is what your Python program is going to consider. So complex data type is something that I've already mentioned in the first video. You are not going to use, but just to, if I'm storing any values which is looking like this, which has imaginary values, I'm storing that into a variable. If I'm seeing which data type it is, it will be printed complex data type. That simple it is. And you're not going to use that in most of the common use cases. Only if you are doing any electronics based projects where you need to use some homes based values and all in physics based projects, you might use. I'm not sure about it. In AI based projects, you'll not be getting into that a lot. And my name is already a string data type. And if I type that and see, I'll be seeing it as string. It will be printed as string. So for float, specifically, I have given an example here. I'm storing my temperature value inside a variable name called temperature, which has decimal value, 0.6 after 94. So it is a decimal value. In Python, we call that as float value. Next to which I'm trying to print the type of the temporary variable. As it is a float, it got printed as float. Yeah, that simple is Python. And this is something you are seeing here as error, right? What I'm trying to say is Python is actually case sensitive, which means if I'm storing some value inside a variable, and that variable has only lowercase letters, If I'm calling that same variable name, which has a single letter, which is uppercase letter, Python can understand. That is why we call it as case sensitive. If you name a variable with lowercase letters, you should call the same variable with lowercase letters. You should not even change a single letter. If you replace one single lowercase letter with uppercase letter, Python can understand that. So it will throw an error. That is why it is throwing an error. Instead, if you print type of TEMP with T as a small letter, it will definitely be printing as it is already printed here. This is something we have seen how to combine a printing statement and a variable. And complex data type also we have seen how to print the type of it. Now let's try to understand the rules that we need to follow to declare a variable in Python. There are some rules that we need to follow so that you can avoid that Python could throw an error. The first rule is Python can start with any alphabetical characters and underscores, but it can contain integers, it can contain numbers, but it can't start with numbers. That is the second rule. So Python variable can contain alphabetical characters, numbers and underscores, but it can't start with a number, but it can start with an alphabetical character or an underscore. Underscore is specifically used wherever you need to use spaces to make that variable name meaningful. Yeah. As I already mentioned, I have shown you the example as temperature, TEMP. If that capital T is placed by small t, it will throw an error. That is why we call variable names are case sensitive. Next, variable names cannot be any of the Python reserved keywords. In Python, we do have these many keywords and we can't use any of these keywords as my variable name. So these are some examples I have used for explaining how these first, second rules work. So as a first rule, we have something like variable names can contain only alphabetical characters and underscores and digits. So here in this first variable, I'm just using underscores and I'm using alphabetical characters. And it haven't thrown me any errors. And in the second example, I'm storing this variable name with digit in the first place. So as it is mentioned on the second rule, a variable name must start with a letter or an underscore. It cannot start with a digit. But this variable name got started with a digit. So it is throwing an error. In the third rule, in the first rule, we have seen it can have digits, alphabetical characters and underscores. But in the second rule, we have seen it cannot start with a digit. So it says other than a first place, we can use digits wherever we need to use. Instead of using that 10 at the starting, I'm using it after ice cream. Here, it will not throw any error. So that is how these three rules work. And for fourth rule, let's see one example. These are the Python keywords that we have in Python that you should remember. Let's consider using any of these keywords as variable names. For example, let's consider using continue. So continue is one of the keywords that I've given here. See, this is where I've given. Inside continue, I am giving hello. When I'm just running this file, it can't. It can't store that value inside the variable name continue for a reason because continue is a keyword. So I can't store any values inside continue. And next to which I've given another example. Break is also a keyword. So inside break, I'm trying to give a value. I'm trying to print the value of break as break is a keyword. It is throwing an error. And as if is also a keyword, I've given another example how using keywords as a variable name will throw an error. So these errors might be caused when you are doing very important projects. I have wrote many lines of code and you have seen small error that is not letting your code run properly. So these are some chances where you might do errors. So this is an example I have given for next rule. As a fifth rule, we have special characters and spaces are not allowed in variable names. So if I want to use a space to make my variable name meaningful, instead of using any spaces, what I can do is I can replace that space with an underscore like this to make my variable name meaningful. If I use any special characters, so here I have used a special character called @ So it is throwing an error. Let me show you with another example. $5 cost equal to 50. As it has a special character which is other than underscore, it will throw an error. If I want to give any spaces like class 10 and if I give space, as space is also considered as a special character, it will throw an error. Instead of using space, what I could do is I could replace that space with underscore. Now Python can take that variable into consideration. And the next rule is sixth rule. Python variables do not require explicit type declaration, which means I need not specify what type of value I'm giving inside a variable. In some other programming languages, what I have to do is whatever values I'm giving inside a variable. If I'm giving a string, what I have to do is I have to specifically mention str of. Instead, if I'm giving an integer, I want to mention int of. But in Python, we need not specify them. If I'm giving a string, what I have to do is I just need to give double quotes. Python will understand it. If not double quotes, it will understand the types by looking at how it looks like. If it doesn't have any integers, if it doesn't have decimal values in a number, it is an integer. If it has any decimal values, it will understand it is a float value. So you need not specifically mention the data type of the values that you are going to use in variables. The seventh rule is in single line, I can assign multiple values to multiple variables. The last, I have given example for that. If I am adding a ice cream cost for chocolate flavor and vanilla flavor, and the chocolate ice cream flavor cost is 40 and the cost of vanilla ice cream is 30. What I can do is I can call the first variable name chocolate. I am giving comma. Then I am using the next variable name equal to first variable. I am assigning a value called 40. Next I am giving a comma and then I am giving value for the second variable 30. So as similar to this, you can give as many values as you want. Like a comma b comma c comma d. I can assign so many values like 2 comma 5 comma 7 comma 8. Based on the values will get stored. If I'm calling the value of b, let's try to print the value of b. The output should be 5 because at the second place the value of 5 got stored, right? Yeah, we got that output. And here, if I'm printing the value of choco where I stored 40, it will show the output as 40. And for vanilla, I stored 30, right? It will show the output as 30. And next, as the next rule, we have delete keyword. If I want to delete any variables from my whole program, I can just use a delete keyword. So for that syntax, I'll be using the keyword of delete, open bracket, close bracket, then I'll be calling that variable name vanilla. So now the value that got stored inside vanilla will be deleted, and if I run this coding cell, it will throw an error because that value doesn't exist because I have deleted that variable itself. Let's check with another example too. Let's try to delete the value of b. Now it got deleted. If I try to print the value of b again, it will throw an error because that value doesn't exist. I have deleted the variable b. I hope in this video, if you are a beginner, you've understood how to use Colab, and this platform can be used in both mobile phones and laptops. How I use this in laptop, you can use the same way in mobile phones too. That is the major reason why I've choose this as a platform. And I believe you understood how to use this platform, how printing statement works, how concatenation works, and basic data types that could be stored inside variables. And finally, variable declaration rules. If you have any doubts, without hesitation, you can ask in comments. Bye for now. We'll see you in next video.